And I did not create the jinn and mankind except to worship me. God set this field for mankind, this earth, so that we may strive and cultivate it to ascend towards Him, to be God's successors on earth. Then comes the role of the messengers, prophets, and reformers, just as we sent among you a messenger from yourselves reciting to you our verses and purifying you, and teaching you the book and wisdom, and teaching you that which you did not know. Reciting Quran verses is the first thing they do, but prophets, messengers, reformers, and religious supporters do more than just recite. Rather, it purifies you, meaning it cleanses you to clear you from grudges and banish from your heart's misdeeds and things that drag human beings down, and raises you to be able to be God's successors on earth, and teaching you the book, which is the Quran, and wisdom, maturity, knowledge, perception, and understanding, which distinguish humans from the rest of the creatures, and teaching you that which you did not know. Other than the Quran and wisdom, religious supporters have many roles. They teach individuals how to elevate themselves on this earth. And they elevate the individual and the whole human community in terms of their wisdom, their morals. I was sent to uphold and complement ethical values. In terms of their maturity, conciliation, and harmony. In terms of dignity, resolution, knowledge, and understanding. They encourage human growth of the individual and also the community. This is the role of the religious supporters. But what does it have to do with economic growth? To answer this question, we must understand where the wealth of nations comes from. Back in the feudal era, land was the main source of wealth, and people were forced to work on it as slaves or serfs for wages in service to the feudal lord, the landowner. In the age of industry, it was machinery and capital that represented wealth. The World Bank released a study in 2000 entitled Where the Wealth of Nations Lies, in which it identified 3 sectors. The first sector is wealth. Natural capital lies in natural resources such as land, mountains, minerals, rivers, forests, and ecosystems. The second sector contains produced capital, which means everything built by humans. Things like streets, houses, universities, restaurants, space stations, power stations, nuclear stations, and so on. Finally, we come to the intangible capital, which consists of human capital, social capital, and governance elements. The World Bank study produced some amazing results. They sampled 120 countries with high, middle, and low incomes. They excluded only the oil-producing countries because all or most of their wealth comes from oil. They found that on average, natural capital account for just 4% of a nation's wealth. For the average of 120 countries in comparison, the produced capital contributed 18%, while the other 78% is the product of human beings, intangible capital. Yes, humans and the relationships between these humans is the intangible capital. This may be the element that most neglected by many countries when setting their economic policies. However, we aren't too interested in a view based on averages. What we care about most are the results for high-income countries, because we aspire to be among them. Sweden is a good example. It was the 3rd richest country in the world, with natural capital accounting for 1% of its overall capital. As a developed country, Sweden's produced capital amounted to just 12%, and the remaining 87% of Sweden's national wealth comes from its people. This is the model to adopt if we want to stand alongside the developed countries. So what do these numbers mean? In the industrial age, industry was the source of production and wealth. Giant companies depended on huge production lines, while the human was just a worker, a small figure, a mere cog in the industrial machine. This was how man was valued within the economic system. This was in the past. And now we're entering a new age called the age of knowledge. where the name itself gives a sense of comfort because it chimes with the first word revealed in the Quran, read. The age of knowledge is a new age, and this is our Islamic message. In the age of knowledge and globalization, the value the human has changed. He is no longer just a cog. Now he represents over 80% of many countries' economies. Understand that I am talking about the value a person brings to the economy here rather than his value as a social being. His contribution to economic production, national production, and national wealth. And he produces more than 80% of this income. That's wonderful. If a person creates 80% of his country's wealth, isn't he worth investing in? Many countries focus their energies on building their towns and cities while neglecting to nurture their valuable people. Human capacity stands above every other factor when it comes to wealth production. People have become the most important factor of all, while the others have dwindled. Everything else accounts for just 20% of the production. Many people might think we are not producing anything. Unfortunately, it's true that many people are not producing anything. And without human power to drive it, the economy becomes weak. When the most important factor of production and wealth is idle, when it is empty, unproductive, it becomes dependent instead of productive. That's why the economy is weak and fragile. Where is the human contribution to production? If so many individuals live their lives without producing anything by the end of each day, then where will the wealth come from? We realize that this is not the role of humans. The value of every person is in what he is best at. You are the religious scholars who have the responsibility to guide people towards their true worth as human beings, as God's successors on this earth, as the supreme creature, to whom even the angels bowed down. And when they said, will you put there who corrupts and sheds blood when we exalt your praises and sanctify you? He said, I know what you do not know. The human being is so great, but which of them is realizing his true importance? Which of them can reveal his true value? This is where the role of religious scholars comes in. To reveal to man his importance, to clarify the spirit of religion, the spirit of Islam, and Islamic human culture. We know that. So whoever does an atom's weight of good will see it, which tell us, and that man shall have nothing but what he strives for, and that his striving shall soon be seen. It will be seen everywhere. The value of a person lies within himself, this value that you discover in this world before you die. Once again, the value of every person is found in what he is best at. Toil is something that God Almighty sanctifies. O mankind, indeed you are laboring towards your Lord with great exertion, and you will meet it. So through toil, we rise towards God. When we labor and strive in this world, we achieve the correct servitude towards God. And this is what every human being needs to know. He draws from this knowledge, this conception, this religion, reciting to you our verses, and purifying you and teaching you the book and wisdom. Man, with the talent, power, and intelligence granted to him by God, identified and distinguished himself from other beings. With his soul that is capable of reason, he can lead change and keep pace with development. Therefore, he is the most important agent of change. And the companies, institutions, and economies that are blessed with the energy of intelligent, empowered, professional, and competent people will take the lead in today's conflict, in today's world. What are the elements of intangible capital? There are three, and the first element is human capital. The human being, a capable, empowered person with knowledge, wisdom, maturity, and an ability to make decisions. The courageous and the trustworthy of God Almighty, who is able to be constructive and positive. The person who has patience and mercy has authenticity. The second element is social capital, or in other words, the degree of trust that exists among the members of a society and their ability to work together to achieve common goals. To what extent are the individuals in this community able to unite and work together? How free is this society from the problems of sectarianism, from the problems of tribalism? How free from feuds and envy, from psychological problems? How capable are members of this community of trusting each other, of joining hands and working together towards a common goal? How long until we stop hearing, no, I will not employ this qualified person because he is from the other tribe, and I prefer to hire someone from my tribe or someone whom I love or one of my relatives? How capable are we of acting in accordance with the principle that we are human beings and God created us all alike? People are two, either a brother in religion or a counterpart to you. In creation, how many in our community do this? This is one of the most important aspects of any society that wants to succeed and grow. The third element in our part, the governance elements, such as judicial, educational, administrative, and governmental institutions that we have. This part is linked in some ways to policies and procedures. Many people have no say in the decision-making process. However, a large part of it is related to the efficiency of the employees themselves, who are citizens and individuals. To what extent do they desire to participate in production? Are their consciences clear? Can they resist taking a bribe? This has nothing to do with regulations and policies. These are simply questions of personal integrity. Are these people honest and productive? If they are content, how many of us have had to deal with institutions that have few bad employees who stand in your way and doesn't help you complete your business? It is such a relief to deal with someone who does help you. This isn't about policies and procedures, it's about people. Look out for the three elements. The crux of human capital is the educated, capable human being who can apply his knowledge in everyday life. We were taught about this in the Quran, when God described educated people who are unable to translate their knowledge into practice as like that of a donkey carrying books. If you put books on a donkey, it will remain a donkey. An educated person who can translate his knowledge, experience, and learning into practical use is just the kind of person we are looking for, and this is what the Quran urges us to be. This is what the Islamic culture calls us to. An educated person who can translate his knowledge into work. A person that has no complexes. A capable, educated, mature, and experienced human being. The relationship between human beings is the second element, that of social capital. The third element is about governance elements, the personal integrity of individuals, and purifies you, and their desire to develop and serve others. We have many hadiths urging believers to help fulfill other people's needs. Now, you are not doing this work for God because you are getting paid to do it. You are an employee. Isn't this positive culture the essence of Islamic culture, which we are supposed to carry to others, which you, as religious scholars, religious supporters, and imams, are supposed to carry to others? You carry it to humanity. Our success in nurturing these three elements is the key to building a whole person. We must encourage them to acquire useful and productive knowledge, and motivate them to be positive in their lives, to be active, not vacant and empty, to be striving, instead of wasting their days on sleeping or smoking, or waste time in late-night gatherings. People have the right to entertain themselves, of course, but how much time are they spending in the service of God Almighty, developing themselves, developing their children, and developing their communities? How productive are they? These things are the building blocks of a whole human being. How much positivity do they bring to others? This is the essence of the Islamic message. And if people can live up to these ideals, then they will become their best selves. We cultivate the most active, faithful, chaste, generous, and knowledgeable people. This is the Islamic message, and this is the role of the religious supporter, to create human beings who are like this and who can cooperate and hold fast all together by the rope which Allah stretches out for you, and be not divided among yourselves.